With tears in their eyes, they went back home, and one by one, they hugged their tired mother's arms and apologized many times. "Mom, we couldn't help you. We only thought of ourselves. We're sorry, Mom," they said. From then on, they set the table for dinner together with their fathers and cleared it together. "Mom, you sit down. We'll tidy up the kitchen with Dad." When they woke up in the morning, our 3 mischievous monkeys started putting their toys back in their places, folding the clothes they had taken out and organizing everything neatly. "Mom, after we help with breakfast, can we go to Gorilla Uncle's park?" "Of course, my dear. I have nothing to do. When you help, there's no work left at home, and we can have much more fun together," said the mother monkey. However, despite the passing of days, this child never grew and remained as small as a thumb. Yet, even though she didn't grow, this child was incredibly skilled and equally clever. She could accomplish anything she set her mind to. One day, the peasant decided to go to the forest to chop wood. He muttered to himself, "I wish there was someone to bring the cart while I'm in the forest." Hearing this, Thumbelina said, "Father, I can bring you the cart you desire." The man smiled and said, "My child, how will you do that? You are so small, you can't even ride a horse." Thumbelina replied, "Don't worry, Father. Mother can drive the cart, and I will sit on the horse's ear and tell her what to do." When the time came to go to the forest, his mother hitched the horse to the cart and placed her dear Thumbelina on the horse's ear. Thumbelina said to the horse, "Giddy up," and instructed it on what to do. The horse and the cart set off towards the forest. However, when they reached the entrance of the forest, Thumbelina saw 2 strangers and shouted, "Whoa!" One of the men, bewildered by the situation, said, "What does this mean? A cart moving on its own and an unknown voice." The other man said, "This place doesn't seem safe at all. I suggest we follow the cart and see where it goes." The cart eventually stopped in a clearing in the middle of the forest, where there was a pile of wood. When Thumbelina's father arrived, she called out, "Father, did you see? I brought the cart. Please, take me down." Her smiling father held the horse with one hand and gently lifted Thumbelina off the horse's ear with the other. The strangers who had been following the cart were puzzled by this turn of events. One of them approached Thumbelina's father and said, "This little one could change our fortunes. Let's buy her for a good sum of money and show her to the public in the big cities. Let's try to purchase her." He then approached the man and said, "Sell us this little one for money. She will be comfortable with us." The father vehemently refused, saying, "No, never. She is my everything. Even if you offered me the world's riches, I would not sell her." Hearing this conversation, Thumbelina whispered to her father's ear, "Give me to them, father. I will find my way back." Listening to his son, the father sold Thumbelina to the strangers for a substantial amount of money. The strangers asked the child, "Where would you like to sit?" Thumbelina replied, "Place me on the brim of your hat. From there, I can sometimes come down, observe the surroundings, and prevent accidents." The strangers did as she requested, and with a smile on her face, Thumbelina set off with them. They traveled until evening, and then Thumbelina called out, "You must put me down. I need to relieve myself." The man carrying her in his hat replied, "Sit still, child. Go right there if you need to. It doesn't matter to me. Sometimes birds do the same on my head." Thumbelina objected, "No, I won't. Put me down. I am not uncivilized." Upon hearing this, the man took off his hat and placed it by the roadside. Thumbelina, with a sudden leap, jumped into the field and dove into a mouse hole she had spotted. She chuckled and said to herself, "Gentlemen, have a good evening. You will continue your journey without me." The men, frustrated and empty-handed, continued their journey and soon realized that Thumbelina was gone. Thumbelina, aware that the men had left, came out of the mouse hole and muttered to herself, "It's dangerous to wander in the dark." However, as she tried to walk carefully, she couldn't avoid bumping into a snail shell. Seeing the shell, the little one thought, "How wonderful, now I can safely spend the night here," and settled into the shell. She was about to fall asleep when she heard 2 men talking. One of them said, "How can we steal the gold and silver belongings of that wealthy priest?" Thumbelina interjected, "Gentlemen, allow me to tell you." The second man was bewildered and asked, "What was that? Who spoke?" Both of them began to listen carefully. Thumbelina spoke again. "If you take me with you, I can help you." "Where are you?" they asked. "Look closely, you'll find me where the voice is coming from," the little one replied. The two thieves finally found Thumbelina and held her up in the air. "Hey, look at this little one. How can you help us?" they asked. "Listen to me carefully," said Thumbelina. "I can slip through the bars into the priest's room and hand you what you want from inside." The thieves liked the idea and said, "Show us your skill." So, Thumbelina and the thieves arrived at the priest's house. The little one entered the room and then shouted as loudly as she could, "Everything you desire is here." Startled by the noise, the thieves said, "Speak quietly, child. Do you want to wake everyone up?" But Thumbelina continued to act as if she didn't hear them and shouted again, "What did you want? Everything is here." Hearing the commotion, the cook in the adjacent room perked up her ears. Though the two thieves initially recoiled in fear, they came back and whispered to Thumbelina, "Be serious and hand us what's inside." In response, Thumbelina screamed at the top of her lungs, "I'll give you whatever you want. Just reach out your hands." After this loud outburst, the cook stumbled towards the door. Though the thieves initially retreated in fear, they came back and whispered to Thumbelina, "Be serious and hand us what's inside." In response, Thumbelina screamed at the top of her lungs, "I'll give you whatever you want. Just reach out your hands." After this loud outburst, the cook stumbled towards the door. The thieves, thinking that Thumbelina intended to expose them, retreated once more. Frustrated and empty-handed, they continued on their way. Thumbelina, aware that the men had left, emerged from her hiding place and mumbled to herself, "It's dangerous to wander in the dark." Upon this, they slaughtered the cow, but they also threw away the stomach with Thumbelina still inside. Inside the stomach, Thumbelina struggled to get out. However, at the moment she managed to stick her head out, a hungry wolf came by and swallowed the entire stomach. Despite all that had happened, Thumbelina did not lose her courage. She thought, "Maybe I can make a deal with the wolf," and called out from inside the stomach, "Wolf brother, I know of a delicious place for you to eat." "Where is that tasty food?" the wolf asked eagerly. "It's in a certain dead-end street. Past the first house, then the second one. In that house you'll find legs, sausages, and cakes. Eat as much as you want." She described the way to her own home. The wolf, driven by the idea of a feast, did exactly as Thumbelina instructed and found his way to the house. He feasted on everything he found in the pantry. When he was completely full, he wanted to leave the house, but his belly had swollen so much that he couldn't move from where he stood. Thumbelina had planned for this. She began to shout at the top of her lungs from inside the wolf's belly. The wolf said, "Quiet! You'll wake everyone up!" But Thumbelina replied, "I don't care. You just devoured everything in sight. Now it's my turn to have some fun." She continued to shout with all her might. Hearing the noise, her mother and father rushed to the pantry. When they saw the wolf, they quickly returned to the house and grabbed an axe and a scythe. The axe was in the father's hand and the scythe in the mother's. Without entering the pantry again, the father said to his wife, "Stand behind me. I'll use the axe to hit the wolf, and if he doesn't die, you can use the scythe." Upon hearing his son's voice, the father, overjoyed, said, "Thank God we found the little one." He signaled to his wife to put down the scythe, and holding the axe, struck the wolf's head, killing him. Then, using a knife, he cut open the wolf's belly and rescued Thumbelina. "Oh, my child, we missed you so much," her father exclaimed with joy. "Daddy, I went through so much," Thumbelina replied. "Where have you been all this time, my child?" "Don't ask, Dad. First, I entered a mouse's hole, then I ended up in a cow's stomach, and finally I found myself in a wolf's belly. From now on, I will never leave your side." Her mother and father both said, "We will never trade you for all the gold in the world." They hugged and kissed her with tears of joy.